From our Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Aishah Ashraf. Our top story tonight. In the past 24 hours, over 200 Palestinians have been killed and many others injured due to intense Israeli airstrikes in Gaza. Among the most devastating attacks was on a camp in Rafah, where at least 40 people were killed. Medical sources confirm that the Israeli military targeted a camp for displaced people in Rafah. The attack occurred near the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees logistics base in Tal al-Sultan. Eyewitnesses told media outlets that several refugee tents were hit with missiles and 2,000-pound bombs. Eyewitnesses described scenes of chaos and devastation. Israeli forces have also bombed other shelters in Jabalia, Nuseirat, and Gaza City, resulting in at least 160 additional deaths. These attacks have drawn international condemnation and calls for a ceasefire. This assault on Rafah's Tal al-Sultan camp is one of the deadliest since the conflict began, leaving survivors with a shattered sense of safety. At least 35,984 Palestinians have been killed, and more than 80,643 people have been wounded in Israel's war on Gaza since October 7. The attack comes despite a ruling by the International Court of Justice ordering Israel to halt its offensive in Rafah. The international community has reacted with outrage following the deadly Israeli airstrike on a refugee camp in Rafah. The Organization of Islamic Cooperation condemns the attack. It is calling it a war crime and state-sponsored terrorism. The organization is calling for Israel's accountability under international law. The organization's Secretary General Hussein Brahim Taha blames Israel for the brutal assaults against Palestinian civilians. He has urged the United Nations Security Council to demand an immediate halt to Israeli aggression. Several Arab nations, including Egypt, Jordan, Kuwait, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia, also condemned the attack. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says the actions of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are comparable to those of infamous war criminals. Norwegian Foreign Minister Espen Barth Eide says it is important to uphold international law. Irish and Spanish foreign ministers are calling for increased humanitarian aid and diplomatic efforts to enforce the World Court's decision. French President Emmanuel Macron has expressed outrage at the Israeli strikes. A surge of Democratic dissent has emerged against House Speaker Mike Johnson's invitation to Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu to address Congress. This comes as International Criminal Court prosecutor Karim Khan seeks arrest warrants for Netanyahu and two other Israeli leaders. Democratic Republicans Scott Peters, Dan Kildee, and Jim Himes criticized the timing and divisiveness of the invite. Former Speaker Nancy Pelosi and progressives like Senator Bernie Sanders voiced firm opposition, citing Netanyahu's actions in Gaza. Republican Mark Pocan even suggests facilitating the World Court's warrants. Netanyahu's potential speech stirs broader controversies, including past remarks on 9/11. He said Israel benefited from these attacks on the U.S. If Netanyahu accepts, it will mark his fourth address to Congress. Pelosi, Himes, and Peters were among the 173 House Democrats who last month voted to approve $26 billion in new U.S. military aid to Israel. The funding was in addition to the nearly $4 billion it already gets from Washington each year. In a significant development, police have made their first arrest following the violent assault on Free-Palestine protests at the University of California, Los Angeles. 18-year-old high school senior Eden On has been charged with felony assault for attacking demonstrators with a wooden pole. In the video footage, he was seen joining counter-protesters and striking a Free Palestinian protester. He continued even when the victim was down. On's mother publicly praised his actions. The attack left over 25 protesters hospitalized with severe injuries. Critics say the handling of the incident by police contrasts with their approach to nonviolent protests. Fear grips the Muslim community in Minneapolis following an alleged hit-and-run attack in a mosque parking lot. The Al-Hikmah Mosque fears further targeting after one of its members, Osman Ahmad, was injured. The Council on American-Islamic Relations says the incident marks a string of attacks, making Minnesota the top state for mosque assaults. The incidents are among at least 21 attacks on Minnesota mosques in the past 3 years. The suspect, James E. Suttles, faces second-degree assault charges, though bias motivation is not yet confirmed. Previous incidents involving Suttles at the mosque raised concerns. Mosque officials are calling for security measures. The Al-Qassam Brigades, Hamas's armed wing, released a video Saturday addressed to the families of Israeli prisoners in the Gaza Strip. It included images of several hostages who were killed in Israeli airstrikes. Your own army, under orders from Netanyahu, insulted your captives' dignity, alive and dead, said the video. The commentary in the video tells Israeli citizens that Netanyahu, his army, and the War Council killed his own citizens in captivity. The footage contains images of several prisoners who were killed, bloodied, and covered in dust, indicating that they were killed in an Israeli airstrike on buildings in Gaza. The video ended with the phrase, "This is how they will bring them back," followed by "Time is running out." Bringing more news stories after the break. Stay tuned and we will be right back. A Sudanese film producer defied Palestinian content censorship on social media by creatively evading algorithms. Despite restrictions on mentioning Gaza or Palestine due to Israeli pressure, Amjad al-Nur utilized ambiguous language and mixed signals to circumvent detection. He emphasized the importance of raising awareness about Gaza's plight since 2009, citing the lack of discourse. Al Jazeera, where al-Nur works, faced Israeli crackdowns exemplified by recent legislation allowing closures of its offices. Al-Nur criticized U.S. attempts to ban TikTok, attributing it to widespread advocacy for Palestinian rights. Despite challenges, content highlighting Palestine proliferates online. Al-Nur's innovative approach underscores the resilience of voices striving for Palestinian visibility amid geopolitical pressures. Ottawa police have charged a 74-year-old woman with a hate crime involving a hijab-pulling incident at Ottawa City Hall on May 14. The incident took place at a protest meeting against the city's choice to raise the Israeli flag to mark Israel's Independence Day. Video posted to social media shows a woman making indecent actions before pulling down the hijab of a woman waving a Palestinian flag. The victim, Haifa Abdel Khaliq, told the media that her dignity was attacked and she no longer feels safe in Ottawa. Police said Thursday that the perpetrator had been identified and charged with assaults, mischief, and harassment. The city went ahead with the flag raising but canceled a planned public ceremony. Jewish groups later organized a private ceremony at City Hall under heavy security. A violent mob attacked a settlement in Sargodha, Pakistan, following blasphemy accusations against a 70-year-old Christian man. The mob ransacked and burned down the victim's house and a shoemaking factory, severely injuring him. Police rescued 10 Christians. The clashes left 10 security personnel injured. Up to 20 suspects have been detained. Blasphemy is a highly sensitive issue in Pakistan. Insulting the Quran or Islamic beliefs is punishable by death under the country's blasphemy laws, though no one has ever been executed. UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Liz Throssell has canceled on Bangladesh and other nations to safeguard Rohingya refugees. This comes as there are ongoing clashes in Burma. Over 1 million Rohingya have sought refuge in Bangladesh. 45,000 have fled to the Naf River area near the border. Throssell says tens of thousands have been displaced within Myanmar due to fighting. She says Rohingya refugees are facing abuses by the Arakan army and Myanmar's military. Throssell is demanding an immediate end to violence and emphasizing the need for refugee protection regardless of identity. Throssell is urging compliance with international law, including measures from the International Court of Justice. The Rohingya, a Muslim minority, have faced targeted attacks, as highlighted in a report published in January. Human Rights Watch previously urged Indonesia to protect Rohingya refugees fleeing to its shores amid escalating tensions. That's all from our Toronto studios tonight. Thank you for watching. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. Your support is needed now more than ever to continue our mission of providing informative, educational, and inspiring content to Muslims in North America and around the world. Donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Salam and good night.